Some people seem untouchable. They harm, deceive, and betray, yet they walk freely, as if no consequence could ever reach them. Others commit a small mistake and feel the weight of life's judgment almost instantly. You've probably wondered why. There is an answer, but it is not comfortable. An unseen law moves quietly through existence, keeping its own records, balancing its own scales. It cannot be bribed, it cannot be tricked, and it never forgets. You are living inside a system that operates far beyond human courts or public opinion. Call it divine justice, call it the moral fabric of the universe, call it the unblinking eye of truth. It doesn't matter. What matters is that there are certain violations it will never forgive. Actions so corrosive to the soul, so destructive to the natural order, that the correction is inevitable. You may not see it happen tomorrow, or even within years, but it comes, and when it does, it arrives with precision. Somewhere deep within you lives a quiet, unshakable voice. It knows the path meant for you. It knows the truth you carry, even when every mask you wear tells another story. Betraying that voice is not just a personal mistake, it is the first and most dangerous violation of the universal order. The introduction spoke of an unseen law that never forgets, and here it begins its work. The moment you silence your inner truth for convenience, comfort, or approval, you step into a current that will, without fail, carry you toward inevitable correction. This betrayal rarely starts with grand acts of dishonor. More often, it creeps in through small compromises, agreeing to things that feel wrong, remaining in places that stifle your spirit, speaking words that do not belong to your heart. Each time you choose against what you know is right, you carve away a piece of yourself. Eventually, the gap between who you are and who you pretend to be becomes so vast that you can no longer hear the voice at all. Life may appear successful on the surface, but beneath it grows a deep, gnawing emptiness. The universe punishes this, not through sudden catastrophe alone, but through a steady unraveling of alignment. Your own unconscious begins to resist your conscious desires, creating subtle sabotage. Doors that should open remain closed. Relationships falter without clear reason. Patterns of loss and frustration repeat like echoes of a truth you refuse to face. This is not cruelty, it is correction. The universal balance cannot allow a life built on self-betrayal to stand without consequence. The debt must be paid, and payment often comes in the form of lost time, missed opportunities, and the heavy realization that the life you've built is not truly yours. Nothing strikes harder than that moment of reckoning. When the distractions fade and the noise quiets, you are left with the awareness of how far you've drifted from yourself. It is then that the punishment reveals its deepest edge, not just the stripping away of false success, but the understanding that you have spent precious, irreplaceable years living as someone you are not. In the eyes of the universe, betraying your own soul is the root from which all other unforgivable actions grow, and so it is the first to be answered with unshakable justice. When you betray your own soul, you lose the inner compass that keeps you aligned with truth. Without it, you become capable of harming not just yourself, but others, and among the gravest harms is the deliberate destruction of innocence. Innocence is not ignorance. It is the unguarded light that still believes in goodness, the ability to trust without suspicion, the quiet hope that the world can be beautiful. You see it in the eyes of a child, but also in adults who refuse to let cynicism define them. To destroy that light is to attack something sacred, something the universe fiercely protects. This destruction can take many forms. It may be direct, introducing corruption into a child's world too soon, or subtle, like mocking someone's pure dreams until they stop believing in them. Such acts leave wounds far deeper than the moment of harm. You do not simply rob the victim of a feeling, you alter how they see life itself. Trust becomes guarded, hope becomes fragile, love becomes a calculation rather than a gift. By extinguishing their light, you make the world darker for everyone. The universe punishes this with a precision that mirrors the act itself. Often, those who destroy innocence are forced to witness the same cruelty befall their own children, loved ones, or selves. Sometimes it comes through isolation, finding that the only company left is people just as cynical, jaded, and closed-hearted as they have become. Joy fades, beauty becomes meaningless, and the simplest wonders, sunsets, laughter, small acts of kindness, feel empty. This is not coincidence, it is the natural balance returning what was taken. What makes this justice most unbearable is the memory. Somewhere inside, they remember what it felt like to trust without fear and to love without suspicion. They remember the light they once carried, and they know they cannot return to it. The punishment is not only in the loss of relationships or the hollowing of life, it is in the haunting awareness of what they themselves destroyed, both in others and within their own soul. In the law that governs all things, to destroy innocence is to invite a darkness you can never escape. When someone destroys innocence, they strip away a person's natural defenses, leaving them exposed. And there are those who see that exposure not as a call to protect, but as an opportunity to profit. Exploiting the vulnerable is one of the universe's most unforgivable offenses, for it preys on those who have the least power to resist. Vulnerability wears many faces: the trusting child, the elder whose mind and body have grown frail, the grieving soul desperate for comfort, the individual in hardship searching for a hand to hold. To target such people is to twist the very fabric of trust into a weapon. This exploitation takes countless forms. A false healer sells desperate parents a cure they know will not work. A financial predator drains the life savings of someone too inexperienced to see the trap. A manipulator uses another's grief as an entry point to control them emotionally. These acts are not mere transactions. They are violations of the sacred bond between strength and weakness. In a balanced world, the strong shelter the weak. When that bond is broken for personal gain, the imbalance demands correction. The universe often delivers this correction through reversal. The exploiter finds themselves one day in need of help, through illness, age, loss, or sudden misfortune, only to discover that there is no one they can trust. Their history ensures suspicion follows them, even toward genuine offers of aid. In many cases, they are surrounded by people shaped in their own image, cunning, guarded, unwilling to give without taking. The culture of exploitation they built becomes the very environment in which they must now try to survive. Sometimes the punishment is generational. The harm inflicted does not stop with one victim, it spreads like a disease. A parent who exploited the vulnerable may watch helplessly as their own child becomes the prey of others, targeted with the same cruelty they once wielded. The pain is amplified by recognition. They see their own methods reflected in the hands of those now harming what they love. There is no comfort in such awareness, only the weight of knowing they helped create the world that now hurts them. In the end, the punishment for exploiting the vulnerable is both external and internal. Externally, trust evaporates, and relationships built for advantage collapse when they are no longer profitable. Internally, the exploiter loses the ability to form genuine bonds. Every act of manipulation strengthens the prison walls around them until nothing pure can enter. The universe ensures they live in the very climate they created, a place where compassion is rare, kindness is suspect, and help always comes with a cost. And when the day comes that they finally long for true connection, they will find it out of reach, not because the world is empty of it, but because they have removed themselves from its reach. Exploiting the vulnerable requires a certain coldness of heart, but pride is the blindness that often keeps such cruelty alive. Once a person begins to see themselves as above others, too important to be questioned, too exceptional to be held accountable, they enter dangerous territory. Pride of this kind is not the healthy satisfaction of a job well done. It is a distortion, a self-made throne from which others are looked down upon. And when you place yourself so high above the rest, the universe will not hesitate to bring you back down. Pride blinds you to the humanity of others. Instead of equals, you see tools to be used or obstacles to be removed. Advice becomes irrelevant because in your own mind, you already know everything worth knowing. This is the kind of blindness that keeps a person stuck in failing strategies simply because admitting error feels impossible. The need to protect the image of superiority becomes more important than growth, truth, or connection. The universe punishes this with poetic precision. Whatever you base your sense of superiority on becomes the very thing that crumbles. If you pride yourself on intelligence, life will place you in situations where you are made to look foolish in front of others. If your pride rests on wealth, it will vanish in a way you cannot control. If your self-worth depends on beauty or physical perfection, time and circumstance will dismantle that illusion. The fall is rarely random. It is crafted to strike the exact pillar holding up the false image. The timing of this justice often carries a sting. It tends to arrive when confidence is at its peak, when the proud feel untouchable. In those moments, the collapse is not only humiliating, but disorienting, because it shatters the very identity they have spent years defending. And unlike other forms of loss, this one is accompanied by the knowledge that humility could have prevented it. That awareness can be more painful than the external consequences themselves. The aftermath leaves two choices: cling to the wreckage of superiority and live in bitterness, or accept humility and begin again on honest ground. Some discover that their fall was the first true act of mercy they had ever received from the universe. Others resist, doubling down until they are alone, alienated, and cut off from real connection. In either case, the message is the same. No one escapes the balancing force that humbles false greatness. The universe will dismantle whatever blinds you until you can finally see. Pride blinds you to the truth in others, but denying your shadow blinds you to the truth in yourself. Every person carries traits they would rather not admit: anger, fear, selfishness, desire. These parts are not inherently evil. They are fragments of the human whole, but when you reject them completely, you push them into the dark, where they grow unchecked. What is hidden does not disappear. It waits, gaining strength in silence. And in time, the universe ensures you will meet it, not as a quiet whisper, but as a force that disrupts the very structure of your life. The punishment for shadow denial often comes through mirrors. Life surrounds you with people and situations that display the very traits you've buried, forcing you to react. Dishonesty in others reveals the dishonesty you've denied in yourself. Neediness, cruelty, or weakness in those around you reflects the parts you refuse to face. This is not random, it is correction. The longer you resist, the more relentless the reflection becomes, until your external world feels like a battlefield against enemies that are, in truth, pieces of your own soul asking to be acknowledged. This is the universe's way of dragging the unseen into the light, no matter how fiercely you try to hide it. When the confrontation finally happens, it is rarely gentle. The shadow breaks through in moments of crisis or loss, often shattering the image you've carefully built. Relationships can crumble, careers can derail, and your own behavior may shock you. The universe's justice here is simple. You cannot live in wholeness while rejecting half of who you are. Those who face and integrate their shadow find authenticity, wisdom, and compassion because they have embraced the full range of their humanity. Those who continue to run remain trapped in an endless inner war, seeking peace in the outer world while refusing it within. And in that refusal lies the true punishment, peace forever out of reach, because the parts of themselves that could bring it have been cast away. The universe does not punish in anger, it corrects in truth, betraying your soul, destroying innocence, exploiting the vulnerable, blinding yourself with pride, or denying the shadow within. These are not merely moral failings, they are fractures in the fabric of your own being, and the universe will not let them remain unhealed. No one escapes. The scales will balance in ways you may not expect, but always in ways you cannot avoid. Every choice you make either deepens your debt or clears it. You are not powerless, you are accountable. Live in alignment with the truth you already carry, and the justice you fear will become the peace you earn.